What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? Welcome into another episode of HBCU Huddle with me, CJ Hurton. As always, I'm pleased to be joined by my man, Mike Wallace. Mike, how's it going?
It's going great, man. You know, we back in the studio again. It's time to get it going. We got the HBCU Huddle ready for the season number, what are we, 4 now? We're 4 in?
4? I think 4.
Season number 4 coming in, yeah.
I think 3. I think 3.
We did 3 media days. And we started before we started doing media days.
So it is 4.
So it might be,
it might be 5. It can't be 5.
It's not 5. It's not 5. It's not 5. We'll claim 4 just because one year we had the spring pandemic season and then the fall pandemic season after the pandemic.
So 4. Yeah,
so we're 4.
You're right.
Yeah, 4 years in, man. 4 years in. We're here.
We did 3 media days.
3 media days. Yep. And then, how many celebration bowls?
3.
So, yeah, the season 4.
So this is 4. This is absolutely 4. Great. We got to the bottom of that, Mike.
We got to the bottom of that.
Follow
Simple
Mike on
math.
Twitter at
Simple
MyMikeCheck. Follow me. I'm at ConRadicalness on Twitter. I'm on Instagram as well. _ConRadicalness is a mouthful. Don't ask me how to spell it. Just search CJ Hurt, and whichever one of those pops up first, just follow that person. It might be me. It might not. We got a jam-packed show for everybody. Today, we continue to march towards the start of college football season. We were supposed to do a show last week. We missed it. Your boy had to go work the polls. And so we ended up missing last week so I could perform a civic duty and work the election polls. So we missed last week. We're making it up by doing one this week, which means, Mike, we're back to being on weekly.
Yeah, we're back to being on weekly.
We were supposed to be weekly next week, but now we're weekly now.
It doesn't matter. We were going to come back and fill it up starting in August. You know that when it happens. The media days are behind us, and as we get into the show, you'll see the preseason polls and the All-American teams and the All-Conference teams are right here set. And we're just looking forward to it, man, because we have, 2 weeks before, what CJ's favorite week of the college football season is? Week 0.
I hate this.
You know what I mean? We got the Swag MEAC Challenge coming up.
When you start counting, I say count to 10, Mike. Do it.
0.
You don't
1,
go 0.
2, 3.
Nobody starts at 0. Nobody.
Hey, you're
and
right.
We put the pieces on a board game.
Yes.
We're playing Candyland. We put the pieces. All right, you roll a 3. Do you go 0, 1, 2, 3? No, you just pick it up and go 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely. But they got to make money. They got to make money. So they created
just call it week 1.
And
just
then
call
push
it week 1
everything
and
else back.
Next week.
Yeah.
Anyways, don't get me started, although I am now started.
Yes.
Before we get into it, like you said, Mike, we got a lot to get to today. When you're playing a board game, is one, like we're playing Trouble or Sorry or something like that, you're on a space. Is 1 the space that you're on, or is 1 the next space?
1 is the next space.
Okay, because I know people who make me go, no, 1, and then 2, and then, okay.
No.
I'm with
it's
you.
the next additional space, right? So you're
Damn
1
right.
plus.
Yes.
You're beyond from that standpoint.
Yes.
So, yes.
Because technically speaking, the space you're on is 0, and nobody does that. Again, going back.
Or where you are. It just is where you are,
Yep.
right? So like they say, ground zero. Like you're where you are, and then you move forward from there. Here's the other thing, since we're talking about board games, and I know we're getting off and that's what we do on this show. We specialize in getting off
just
on tangents.
on tangents, baby,
Please,
already.
For the life of me, and settle this argument right here for me, CJ, because every time we play our family Uno game, this comes up. Do you have to say Uno out when you put the last card out?
Yes.
No, you do not have to say Uno out.
You have to say Uno out.
You have to say Uno.
Yes.
And then the next one is boom.
Uno out.
That's not required, though.
Yes, it is.
That's just a cultural neighborhood, wherever you are.
And by cultural neighborhood, Southern, you finna say Southern, and I'll have you know that Kyra's in my ear screaming, yes, you have to, and she is as far from Southern as it gets.
She's on my side of the country.
Yes.
No, you do not have to say Uno out.
Wait, Kyra, are you saying yes or no?
You don't have to pick up an extra card because you didn't say Uno out.
Yeah, you got to say Uno out, Mike. Kyra says
Uno,
yes. You got to say Uno out.
And then that's it.
No, that's not it. You got to say Uno out.
Man, y'all got to settle this for me, America. The followers and listeners and watchers of HBCU Huddle podcast.
Clip it.
You do not have to say Uno out. When you're out, you don't have to announce it. You're announcing Uno. Uno is the announcement.
If you have to announce Uno, Mike, you also have to announce that you're out of Uno. Hence, Uno out.
When you leave someone's crib,
you say goodbye.
Do you say bye?
Not?
And then you walk out and say, bye, I'm out?
No, Mike, that is not the same thing.
Once you get past the door,
Mike,
you're out.
What you're talking about is just getting up and leaving somebody's spot. You're talking about getting up and leaving without saying anything.
No. You announce, hey, I'm about to roll out. I'm out. That's it. And then you get out. Once you get out, you don't look back and say, I'm out. You're out.
Also, yes, I do. You don't have people. Maybe it's just a Southern thing. Maybe it's just you say, all right.
The long guy. You're right. Our culture is long goodbyes. We got the long goodbyes. You're right.
All right, I'm out. Okay, let me walk you to the door. Let me stand on the porch. Let me watch you get in your car. Let me wave as you drive off. Kyra's been to my house a couple of times.
That is true.
And Kyra said, all right, I'm out. My ride is here. It's like, okay, Kyra, let me walk you to the door. Kyra, thank you so much for coming out. Kyra, let me see you get in the car safely. All right, Kyra, roll your window down. All right, girl, I'm going to holler at you. Bye. And Kyra says that's weird.
And guess what?
That's what we do.
And guess what? Not once did you say Kyra responded to any of those things after she said, I'm out.
No.
All right, then. So that settles it. That settles it.
But that's what we do, Mike. That's what we do, man. So, yes, Luke, clip it. Do you have to say Uno out? Because I'm pretty sure you do. Well, now we're all the way off on this now. Do you stack trains in Uno? No, you play one card at a time.
You got to call it before the game starts.
Okay.
You got to call that before the game starts. But the natural inclination has been the younger, like I'm going to say sub 40s usually love this train and the stacking.
Yeah.
Post 40s, we just play straight up, right? Like, I mean, okay, you hit a draw 2, the next person got to draw the 2.
Right.
If you got a draw 2 in your hand, you don't stack it up and go, okay, nah, the third person has to draw 6 or 4. Nah, I don't like playing like that, but I understand it, right? So that's bringing the generations together. I'm cool with that.
Okay, and so when we stacking and training, if you play a 2, like a red 2, can I play a yellow 2 followed by a green 3, a red 4, and a blue 5?
That wasn't what the game was intended to be. That's a different game. That's a different game, yo.
The spirit of the game.
Yes, that's not what it was intended.
Protect the integrity of Uno.
Somebody done gave us color-coded cards, and we just played it like we want to play it, huh? We just took the hog and made chitlins on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I have. I don't know the last time you bought like a Uno deck. They've got a whole lot of varieties. They change every time
I go into the store.
I got the killer variety. I've got the only face card variety. So you've got they've got wild cards in there, but they don't matter at all because you've got draw 2s, you got draw 4s, you've got reverses, skips, you've got a hand swipe card as well, and it might be something else. And so that one gets, that gets wild real quick. So you
run through the deck so fast when you do that.
You don't, because of the draw 2s and the draw 4s.
So somebody is always drawing though.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So
it's a big deck.
Yeah, so the ultimate, how do you ever get out if everybody's ability to make the next person draw?
Oh, that's the other card. You can pick somebody to draw a card also.
Yeah,
so in addition to having a draw 2, you can pick somebody with a certain draw 2 card to draw.
That's Uno on ADHD medication, yo. That's like, come on, man. That's Uno extreme. I can't play that kind of Uno. I got to keep it. I'm willing to do the trains and the add-ons, but beyond that, that's it, man.
All right, let's get to some football. That's why people are here. Let's start with the HBCU All-American list. We've got that out. And Mike, add another accolade to the great running back that is Jaden Byers up at Virginia Union. 2022, I forgot he was still here. I wasn't expecting Jada Byers to still be here. I thought he was gone. 2022, for those of you who don't remember or are unfamiliar with Jada Byers' work, he set a Virginia Union and a CIAA record in 2022 when he ran for just under 2,000 yards, 1,922 yards. He followed that up last season with a campaign that saw him in the year in the top 10 of all of D2 in rushing yards per game and rushing touchdowns. So he's there. He highlights a group on the offensive side, Mike, led by not just Jada Byers, but we got Miles Crawley, your guy, out of Grambling. We've got Donovan Eaglin out of Alabama A&M, offensive lineman Ashton Grable, another offensive lineman Trayvon Humphrey, Evan Henry, Aurelius Dunn, and Taj Martin are all offensive linemen, though Nick Taste in there as well at offensive line spot. Then we've got Tavarius Griffin at the tight end position, Malachi Langley out of Lincoln at wide out, and Fabian McCray, Jackson State wide receiver as well. Mike, before I ask you your thoughts on this, let me go back to Byers for a second. Is there a chance a good chance that Jada Byers is standing there when it's all said and done with the Deacon Jones Trophy, best HBCU college football player in the land?
Yeah, he's going to have to get Virginia Union, and normally they have a strong defense, right? They do it the old tradition way, rushing attack, strong defense, And if they continue to do that and win that conference, get to the playoffs, the Division II playoffs, I definitely think he's going to be in the conversation. Usually the trend is to give it to one of the bigger schools, the SWAC or the MEAC best players, but you certainly can't deny a guy that has the kind of resume that this young man is going to have by the time it's said and done. And I give him kudos and shout out for staying at Virginia Union.
Yeah. When
he probably could have had an opportunity in this transfer portal era to get to a bigger program and find his way. But there's something to say about the persistence and the greatness that he's shown so far. And I love this list because it's a whole bunch of opportunity on this list. It's a whole bunch of guys that hadn't necessarily made a name for themselves outside of Byers, and now they have a chance to have breakout years this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of the 9, the award has been given out since 2016, so 8 years. Of the 9 recipients of the Deacon Jones Trophy, which goes to the best HBCU football player in the land in a given year. Last year we had 2, Musa and Richard, and that's how we ended up with 9. Of the 9, I just went through 7 of them are quarterbacks, and only 1 of them is a D2 player, and that's when Amir Hall from Bowie State won. Yeah. But if there's ever been one, Byers, based off of what he did, has done. I know it's a this season award. We can't look at what you've done historically, but if he has another one of those type seasons this season, I absolutely think that he could at least be there. Love Donovan Eaglin. I think he's going to have a really good season. Had a chance to talk to Coach. Why am I blanking on A&M's coach name? One of the stronger personalities in the conference. Oh, he was in Any Given Sunday. Nobody tell me the name of Coach because I know his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. So he was in Any Given Sunday. He was the stunt person or the double for Jamie Foxx's character. Oh, he's a great interview. Mike, help.
I'm not gonna bail you out.
Oh, come on.
I'm not gonna bail you out. You said, hey, let you hang. I'm gonna let you hang right there. I'm gonna let you hang.
Why am I blank?
You walked right by him. You dapped him up at media day.
I dapped him up. I talked to him every media day. Dap him up. He had to be with Coach Prime that one time.
Connell Maynard.
I told you not to tell me, Mike. Come on. I told you not to tell me.
Hey, we got a show to get to and get through. I couldn't let you stay on this one that long.
Coach Maynard. Coach Maynard had nothing but great things to say about Eaglin and about how he plans on using him back with that skill set, a Swiss Army knife type of back. I look forward to seeing how he gets used up there. And, of course, Miles Crawley out of Grambling. 2 years he's been at the Peyton Manning Passing Academy. Had a chance to catch up with him at Media Day as well. Grounded, down-to-earth kid, focused, eyes on the prize, as they say, really focused on this offense and what he can do and what he can bring to the table to help Grambling have a much more successful season. Hopefully, for them, win the SWAC West and get to a SWAC championship game. All right, let's go to defense. Kelby Givens on the Buck Buchanan watch list for best defensive player in the nation. He was first team All-SWAC and an HBCU All-American last year after leading the SWAC in tackles for loss. Good for top 25 in all of the FCS. He's only a sophomore, Mike. The rest of the HBCU defensive All-Americans look like this. You got Malachi Bailey, defensive lineman out of Alcorn State. Aaron Miller, defensive lineman out of Benedict. Traquan Thomas from Alabama State. Elijah Williams as well out of Morgan State. Linebacker Rico Dozier. Linebacker Asmar Hassan out of Lane. Eric Hunter out of Morgan State. Jacob Williams, linebacker out of Southern. Kendall Bowler from Florida A&M. We'll talk more about Bowler here in a minute. Kenny Gollop, somebody who could also be up there when it's all said and done for that Deacon Jones Trophy out of Howard. Defensive back James Burgess out of Alabama State. Karan Prunty out of North Carolina A&T. And Deco Wilson, defensive back out of Florida A&M. Mike.
Yes.
What do you think about them?
100% playmakers all up and down that list, man. That's the harder one for me. Like, when I looked at it, the first thing I did was say, all right, CJ's got to fill this out. Because I was like, man, hey, shout out to Donald Ware, too, for curating.
Yes, this is Boxer Rose, HBCU All-American. Absolutely. Thank you, Donald Ware.
Cousin of the show. But, I looked at this and I'm like, man, when you look at all of these guys, you're going to see 2 or 3 guys on that list right there who next season will be in NFL camps trying to make opening day rosters for sure. But just the playmakers, the interchangeable versatility that you have, even when you talk about a Kelby Givens, all the way down obviously to a Kendall Bowler, you can put those guys anywhere on the field and they're going to be playmaker, ball hawkers. So yes, that's a tremendous all defensive team. The one thing, and I gave him a little bit of, I joke with him a little bit about this too at Media Day, man. We got to figure out why we keep putting these unnecessary letters in people's name, man, for our kids, man. Where did you get Kelby with the CK, dog? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like Kelby Givens, CKELBY. Like what are we doing? What are we doing, pops, moms, grandmas? You know what I'm saying? Aunties, like we got to figure out what the motivation and the justification with that was. I'm curious. And I had this same thing, and here I am again. I'm going to try to get back on track quickly. I had the same conversation and tried to understand the same thing with, remember, Montrezl Harrell. Yeah. Why was the L at the end of Montrez? Why was it Montrezl Harrell? You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes in the moment, man, you so excited, you so ecstatic. I'll give you an example. Now we're back off on a tangent. My brother's name is Cameron. Spell Cameron.
Cameron.
My dad,
or CAMRON. Or CAM-/RON if you want to go hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
That's how my dad spelled it, CAMRON, because they decided that they were going to call the child Cameron. On the official birth certificate, my dad left off the E. And it was too much of a hassle to go back
and change
the name.
That makes sense.
My brother's name Cameron without the E because my dad can't spell. And then the rapper Cameron came out, and my dad said, no. That's how you're supposed to pronounce your name. I don't know why they didn't put the apostrophe in there like I put the apostrophe in there. So my brother went around from like 4th grade till maybe like sophomore, junior year of high school saying, no. Pronounce my name Cameron and put the apostrophe in it. And then got the birth certificate. Was like, wait a second. What are we doing here?
That's what I'm saying,
so,
man.
Maybe somebody couldn't spell.
We got
I don't know. You got the CK on the end of Eric also. Which I get that. That confuses me a little bit. You can put a C there, and it give. We know Eric has the hard K sound ending. We don't need the CK there, but all of these players are going to be fantastic for their teams. You mentioned Kendall Bowler. You actually caught up with Kendall Bowler at SWAC Media Days. Let's hear what you and Mr. Bowler had to talk about at SWAC Media Days.
It's Grind City Media right here at SWAC Media Day with what everyone is saying, who everyone is saying is the best returning defensive back in the entire conference, one of the best defensive backs we have in the nation, Kendall Bowler. Ken, when you look at what you guys were able to do a couple years ago, and then last year obviously was a little bit of a disappointment because you didn't finish the job, but what's the mission like going into this year for Florida A&M?
The mission this year just do the same thing we did last year, just stay consistent, do the best we can do. We got a new coach, Coach Cozy, he's been my coach for the past couple of years, so in the corner room, so he stepped up being the head coach, so now we just got to follow his lead and do what he say.
What were some of the things that you talked about continuity, guys coming back? Obviously y'all familiar with Coach. How important was that? Because they opened up a national search. You saw a lot of national names, but then they stayed home right there with your coach now.
Yeah, it's definitely, we felt as a team it was definitely best to stay at home, like something we're used to. We don't want to get, somebody on the outside, because you never know what they could do. They could come in and bring a whole new staff, just probably bring the whole team over. So, staying home, I feel like it was a good decision because, we're comfortable with Coach Cozy, so that probably was the best thing we had to do.
You guys came here. Every time FAMU comes to the SWAC Media Day, you guys are always sharp. I see you looking good right now. You got the rings. Let me see the rings real quick. Flash the rings for the camera. The rings are right there. That's championship pedigree you guys have. Is that the standard, championship or bust right now, especially when you're talking about, coming into what you hope is your last year, making that transition to the league after this?
It's definitely the standard, in my last year, so I'm trying to win it all again. Like I've been saying, we're trying to reload and repeat. That's the goal we're trying to do, so we're finna run it back again, man. Definitely. Yes,
all right,
sir.
man, good, best of luck. Grind City Media, Kendall Bowler, you're going to see him. You're going to see him making plays. You're going to see him picking off passes. I did want to ask you one more thing, man. You guys have that pedigree. NFL players come from FAMU. You see the long tradition. Talk about some of those guys and how you want to sort of keep that standard.
Yeah, definitely. It don't matter where you at, they're going to come find you. Marquise Bell, Isaiah Land, and then we had 2 players this past season ago, so they had minicamp invites. That's the crazy part. They had the invites, and they went there and showed up and showed out, and then now they on the roster. So, like I said, no matter where you at, they're going to come and find you, definitely.
All right, good luck, man. Good luck the rest of the season, and take care, man. All right, it's Kendall Bowler, Michael Wallace, Grind City Media. Keep it locked on all of our coverage on HBCU Huddle.
As Kendall Bowler pointed out, Mike, they're going to come find you wherever you're at. And so that is a great thing to think about when you're at a program like Florida A&M a program that has sent a bunch of defensive talent to the NFL. When you think about Bowler and what that FAMU defense can do, how good can they be? What's the ceiling on this FAMU defense? Can FAMU ride this defense to a black college football national championship?
Well, when you talk about the continuity that they got back with the coaching staff in Cozy, right? That was the unit that he had from that standpoint, right? So it was like one of those situations where these guys are playing for a familiar voice when it comes to what they've heard. Even though they lost Willie Simmons and all the things that Willie was dynamic with offensively, the defensive side of the ball has the guys that, where you have that chemistry, that camaraderie, and that familiarity. And Bowler is the embodiment of that. He's the guy that everybody's galvanized around now. So it's as much incumbent upon Bowler to be that leader to take this team to the next level, because they're going to have to do it defensively now. They lost Musa, they lost Simmons, they lost a lot of offensive minds. They did get back Riley, who's going to be a dynamic playmaker. But whoever emerges as the quarterback there now is going to have to be given some patience and grace. The defense has to set the tone until the offense gets clicking. But FAMU should be right back there in the discussion for another division championship.
From one defensive back that's a HBCU All-American to another, I caught up with Burgess, who is a returning player on that Alabama State defense that was really, really good last year. I don't think people realize how good they were. Top 5 in touchdowns allowed. I do believe top 10 points per game, top 10 in yards per game allowed. I think like top 3 in yards per game allowed. I think it was only 2 teams ahead of them. Eddie Robinson Jr. has some really good players on that defense, none better than Burgess. Let's hear what he had to say on what that Hornets defense should be expected to do this year. What's going on, everybody? CJ Hurt, SWAC Media Days in the Magic City, Birmingham, joined right now by James Burgess. James, how's it going, man?
Everything's good.
Everything's good. Preseason Aeneas Williams Award watch list. What is that award? Best defensive back?
Yeah, that's best defensive back in all black college football.
What do you think makes you stand out amongst your peers from the defensive back position?
I feel like I can shut down one side of the field. I can make my tackles. I'm good at covering. I get that ball.
So you're the type of defensive back. Do you want to stay on one side, or do you just want to follow the biggest playmaker on the field?
I want to follow the biggest playmaker on the field. Wherever he go, I can go. Right side, left side, I can go slide. It don't matter.
It don't matter. I love that sort of confidence. What do you think is the strength of not just your game, but the defense as a whole for Alabama State? You guys were incredible last year, 3rd in all of the FCS in yards per game allowed, second fewest, I do believe, offensive touchdowns allowed last year. What makes that defense so dominant, and what do you bring in that makes that defense all the better?
I feel like our defense, we really swung to the ball. So, like, wherever you throw the ball, we're coming. We coming like 11 hats to the ball. I can't say that. Like, we work on that pursuit, and like at practice, like, we taking practice to the game. Like, we coming to the ball, and I can say me coming to the field, I can shut down one side of the field. I can take out your best player. I can do that. Wherever your best receiver, you have a game plan around him, because like he's not getting that ball.
He's not getting the ball. What are you doing for fun these days, man? Away from football, if you need to unwind, what are you doing to relax a little bit?
To relax, I will go like chill at the park, like just get some little nature to me. I play my game. We just got NCAA. You know what I'm saying? We got to get that. I got to get that NCAA. So I just play the game, listen to music, and go to the park, chill. Listen to music or something.
So NCAA college football 25 came out this week. Do you have it yet? And what system are you trying to play it on?
Yeah, I have it. It's on my game. I just got to get back to it. And I play it on PS5. I got a PS5.
That's what I do on the PS5. Do you know who you're going to start with when you go Dynasty mode?
I don't know right now. But I'm ready to play on it. I can't say I'm ready to play it.
All right, lastly, I want to know about some of your personal goals and some of the team goals you guys have at Alabama State for this coming up football season.
Okay, I'll start with the team goals. For the team, we plan on taking like one game at a time, just winning everything. Like all the little stuff, we can't just think ahead. So we're going one game at a time. Like instead of like last year, we was worried about like getting there and like we ain't going one at a time, lock in on every game. So this year we're gonna like lock in on every game, and dominate. And like we dominate, we're gonna win. So yeah, so we can get to the championship and that celebration bowl. And my personal goals, I plan on going first team All-American. You know what I'm saying? I plan on leading the SWAC in interceptions. I can say pick sixes too. I want to, everything I catch, I'm trying to go score it. Yeah. And with all that said, I believe I will get that first team All-American.
Awesome. James, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us today. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
All right. That might be the best player on the best defense in HBCU football this season. Mike, when you think about, I know they got Andrew Body transferring over Alabama State, but this will be an Alabama State team that will, I feel like, a lot like FAMU, have to lean on their defense if they're going to get the places where they want to get, and it will probably start with Burgess in that secondary.
And on top of that, he clearly told us before he sat down with us, man, they robbed me of 2 touchdowns. I had 2 scores off of those turnovers, man. So, he's one of those players, well-spoken, well put together, very cerebral, very smart, brings the physicality. Eddie Robinson Jr. is one of those coaches that, he has that quiet Tony Dungy confidence about him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of, he's not going to try the Deion Sanders episode aside. You know what I mean? He's going to come at you and he's going to outthink you, and he's not going to rub it in your face. He's going to be smart. I love Alabama State. I've said it for 2 years, 3 years, that it's their time. It is their time. If anyone is talented enough, they have the resources and the facilities and the coaching and everything they need. Alabama State has to win it this year, because this is their year to do it, and it's because Burgess, it's because Body is going to be healthy. He gives the offense a level of consistency that it hasn't had in a while, and if they could put those 2 elements together with the coaching, that's already there, the defense is already there. If they can get something out of that offense, man, it's going to be lights out for the rest of the SWAC, because I think, to me, that is the team to beat in terms of where I'm setting my expectation.
I think everybody has that same thought, which is why they were picked to win the SWAC East at SWAC Media Days by media members. As we continue to move through the Box to Row HBCU All-American list, let's look at the special teams. Robert McMinn headlines this group. He made the special teams All-American list after he led the SWAC with 579 combined kick return yards last year, good for 14th in the FCS. He returned 1 punt and 1 kickoff for touchdowns, and his 13.9 yards per return ranked 3rd in the SWAC and 7th in all of the FCS. Also on the special teams All-American list, Matt Knoll out of Jackson State at punter. You got place kicker Cameron Gillis out of FAMU, and then kick returner Keith Jenkins out of Morgan State. Mm-hmm. So that rounds out your Box to Row HBCU All-American list. As we continue to go through the Box to Row HBCU D2 coaches poll was announced earlier this week, preseason poll, and at the top, because of buyers, I'm assuming, Virginia Union. Mm-hmm. You got Virginia Union with 11 first place votes, followed by Virginia State. Virginia Union also had a really good season last year. They ended up getting to the D2 playoffs. Their rival, Virginia State, is right behind them, Mike, at 2, followed by Fort Valley State. Fayetteville State comes in at 4, Albany State at 5, Benedict 6, Miles 7, those damn Golden Tigers of Tuskegee at 8, Johnson C. Smith at 9, and Bowie State at 10.
Yeah.
Mike, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, just that Benedict, after 2 years of sheer dominance at that level, took a drop down a little bit in the preseason because they lost Chinnisberry over to South Carolina State. He took a couple of his players with him over to the up one more level to South Carolina State, and we'll see where they fare in the MEAC. But when you look at this list, you're seeing these teams, Virginia State, Virginia Union, are always in a discussion. Bowie State is now at the back end. We saw them have their great years. You talk about Amir Hall when he had his run as Black College Player of the Year. It's been a couple of years since then. And now when you talk about Damon Wilson, former Bowie State coach, now at Morgan State, they had to take a little bit of a rebuild year from there. So they're at 10. But I think that list has all of the teams there, and it's going to be an opportunity to see if you can hold your pole position when it comes to where you are right now if you're Virginia Union.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we hit the break, we do want to offer our condolences to the family of Terrence Howard, football player at North Carolina Central, who at 19 years old was on his way, I do believe, back to school, had a minor car accident, got out the car to check on the other person and exchange information, and then got hit by incoming traffic. So just condolences to his family and to everybody at North Carolina Central. Let this serve as a reminder, people. If you can get over, you see a stalled vehicle, you see somebody on the side of the road on the interstate, if you can get over, please get over. If you can't, slow down a little bit, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you hear this kind of news, man. A life taken so tragically, so young. This was a young man with all kind of talent. You know, he was transferring over from Alabama, right? Like, I mean, this is a guy that was, if you get to Alabama as a recruit, that means you're doing something very, very special. And he took another opportunity to move over to North Carolina Central, and just in a bad position at a bad time. And it's heartbreaking. This is the second time this summer, you know, that we read a story where a promising young football athlete lost his life. We heard about the story in the NFL with the young guys in their car accident coming out of the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. And this is another one of those situations at the college level where it's impacted. So rest in peace, peace and prayers from the HBCU Huddle family to the families of those who were involved in this tragedy. And, you know, that's as best as we could say. I know North Carolina Central, they're going to hold it down for him. They're going to do some dedications for him. And you just wish the best for that family.
Absolutely, absolutely. On the other side, we'll talk some about some prominent HBCU medical colleges. We'll also take a look at Billboard's best hip-hop albums. You don't want to miss it, man. Stay tuned.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard, bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item, whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
GG gonna be just fine, bro. Like he probably, like Josh probably number one, and he's probably number 2 most talented teammates I've ever had.
Just raw talent.
Like,
wow.
bro, like
just go to the gym, hoop type talent.
Like you walk in the gym and he might be doing a workout, and you're gonna look over and be like, damn.
The Chris Vernon Show, live weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard, bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Welcome back. HBCU Huddle, CJ Hurt, Mike Wallace. Got
Man,
great.
you ain't even give us no countdown or no like. Hold on, y'all shut up so we can get back into the thing.
We've got a shadow in here.
Yeah.
Shout out to Evan. Evan, what show?
The No Bluffing Podcast.
No Bluffing Podcast. Bluff City Media. No Bluffing Podcast. Bluff City Media. Evan's been following me around a couple of times, a couple of days this summer. So he's in there.
Step around there so they can see you.
Yeah,
on the
step.
camera, man. Step
Well,
around.
the
This way.
camera.
No,
I think the
sorry,
camera can move.
This way.
I think that. Well, stand up, Evan. I think the camera can move.
No, it won't. You got to just stand behind CJ
Yeah,
so
come
they
on.
can see you. Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. He had
we'll
it right
figure
the
it
first
out.
time, bro. Now,
I
duck
thought
down.
all
Duck
these
down.
cameras that can move,
Duck
man.
down. Get
Like
other
getting the
side.
shot.
There you go.
There
There
he
you
is.
go. There you go.
There it is. All right.
All right. There you go. There you go.
Hell, the cameras move. I thought the cameras would move. Go ahead, Evan.
Come
Yeah,
on
go
across,
ahead. Just
come on
walk,
across,
man.
come
We
on
don't.
across.
This ain't that
Come on
damn.
across.
If you are listening to this, you are very confused. Which is why you should probably watch us. Download the Grind City Media app wherever you get your apps. We're in the Built for Tough studio. Culture Maker time, Mike.
Yes.
HBCU medical schools. Very, very important to have them. Only 6% of the U.S. physicians are black, according to a study done by the AP in 2022. And of that 6%, about half of them come from 4 schools, 4 HBCUs. Howard, Meharry, Morehouse, Charles Drew. And those medical programs are Culture Makers this week. They have received $600 million to be split amongst them. By the Bloomberg Philanthropies. Ugh. Stop laughing.
Hey, try that again, bro.
They have received $600 million to be split amongst them by the Bloomberg Philanthropies. That's a weird word to read, Mike. We're not just out here saying philanthropies like that.
Uno out.
Y'all know what I mean. Them people giving money. I still can't do it. Philanthropies. That is not how that word should sound to me.
Kyra should be in your ear right now, man.
She is.
Kyra, okay, good.
She is messing me up. So here's how the breakdown works. $175 million will be going to Howard, Meharry, and Morehouse, with $75 million going to Charles Drew.
Yeah.
And this is huge as we try and not just increase black physicians for the sake of saying, hey, we got black physicians, but the health disparity between black people and the rest of the nation, black people and white people, it's really, really large. And one of the ways you can cut down on that disparity is by having more people who look like us in medical fields, having more PCPs, more RNs, more nurse practitioners, more surgeons, more whomever in the medical field to make us comfortable with going to see them. Somebody who speaks the way we speak and understands what we might be going through on a day-to-day as it pertains to black health. Mike, when you see these 4 medical schools and you see that they're being given money like this, money that is absolutely going to change the lives of everybody who's in attendance at these schools right now and people who are going to come through in the future, what goes through your mind?
That it gives those 4 institutions a chance to be competitive for the top minds that are matriculating through medical school. You know what I mean? All you want to do is have an option to say, okay, I don't have to go to a mainstream university if I feel more comfortable in a university that looks like the one that I may have come through at an HBCU level, or one that reflects the community. And all 4 of those medical schools are in communities that you talked about that need that service of doctors and nurses and medical practitioners. And to have universities and medical schools that are right there and they can compete. You know, you look at Morehouse. Now Morehouse has a little bit more to compete with for that top medical student who's considering Emory, wanting to stay home in Atlanta, and they got an Emory offer. Now you have a Morehouse offer, and you want to give Morehouse a chance. So that's where it first hits me. And then secondarily, you know, you just want to continue to invest in these institutions, man, because at a certain level, you know, faculty, training, resources, those are all things that are night and day different when you talk about mainstream, particularly mainstream private universities versus some of the smaller colleges there. Howard, I think all 4 of them, Howard, Morehouse,
Meharry and Charles Drew.
All of those are private institutions to begin with anyway. So they need that money. They need that funding. They need that philanthropic contributions.
Philanthropic makes sense.
That was, I know.
Because that's my issue. I want to say philanthropies, and that's not a word.
No, it's hard. It's hard to put it that way when you put the plural on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but those philanthropic efforts are important, man, when it comes to HBCUs and what we need to do, time in and time out. And it seems like every other show, somebody's writing or donating a big check to HBCUs.
We've talked about it. 2020 changed it.
And it has to continue. Yeah. It has to continue that way.
Yeah. You know, I did a program at Meharry when I was smart.
Oh, okay.
I did a pre-bac program at Meharry. It was
what?
Pre-bac. A pre-baccalaureate program.
Okay.
Where we went to Meharry for a summer. We took medical classes. We took classes on how to prepare for the MCAT and what to do once we took the MCAT.
Yeah.
And after doing that and hearing the stories, talked to a bunch of people there, students M1s, M2s, students on residency, talked to some physicians as well. And after hearing all those people talk, it's like, nah, that's a lot of work, dog. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, man.
It's a passion, though,
That
man.
is-
It's a
yeah,
job.
man.
It's a path that you have to have the passion to finish. So many people start medical school or start the pre-med programs, and they just, for whatever reason, can't finish, whether it's so much, you can't see the finish line, or there's so many barriers that prevent you from getting to the finish line.
Yeah.
But when you support schools like that, man, keeping those students engaged is going to be important, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew after that summer, I was like, great. Don't want to be an MD. I want to be a PharmD. I flunked out of that program twice.
That's right, but you kept going, though. You got back up, man.
Did
got
I?
back up. Yeah, listen.
I'm
look,
here, but
you're
I'm not
here.
a pharmacist. I'm
Hey,
not
listen.
Dr. CJ. Can you imagine me being Dr. CJ?
But you're out here talking about the importance, right, of what these schools can do, man.
Absolutely.
So you found your voice one way or another. You know what I'm saying? You found your voice.
Wish my voice came with that pharmacy wallet. Yeah, Billboard's best hip hop albums. Billboard dropped their best hip hop albums. We talked about Apple's top 100 albums of all time earlier this summer. Let's take a look at Billboard's top hip hop albums of all time in inverse or in decreasing order from 10 till 1. Coming in at number 10, we have The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. Mike, we were talking, you were mad at me for not counting everybody in, but when we were talking about this, I figured that this list, for those of you who hadn't seen it, would be a list that would be really, really agreeable for you, because there's a lot of albums out from your formative years, and Great Adventures of Slick Rick is one of those albums. Great storyteller.
Right there. I mean, that changed the game because Dougie, when they split up, when Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, obviously when they had the show, when they first came out, Slick Rick was part of Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew. But then Slick Rick broke off. And he had Children's Story. And he had
That's such a good song.
I remember that album coming out, dominating that entire summer. And it was, man, I want to say it was 89, somewhere around there, 89-ish when that came out. And that, man, Slick Rick everybody was on that. I don't know one critic of that.
Number 9, we have The Blueprint, Jay-Z, which is one of those type albums where, you got to have that on there.
Commercially, yes, you do, right? That's not my number one Jay-Z.
What's your number one Jay-Z?
And everybody has, Jay-Z provides enough talent and enough content for everybody. If you pull 5 people and say, what's your favorite Jay-Z, that'll probably get 3, if not, majority. But to me, The Life and Times of Sean Carter, Volume 2. Hard Knock Life. That was
That's a good one.
That was when Jay-Z was like, all right, I'm pretty good at this. I'm hungry. Now I'm about to go take over the industry. Then after that, everything was just great. But that was neighborhood Jay-Z. That was Marcy Projects Jay-Z. And that's the one I like.
Coming in at number 8, we have Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim, Mike.
You know how I feel about the R. You know how I feel about the R.
I do.
Man, when they came here for that throwback hip hop show, man, and R took the stage, man, you were there.
I was going to mention something about Slick Rick being there to see he and Dougie Fresh perform. And then this came up. It was like, yo, I saw Rakim also. And now I'm trying to think about how many of these artists have I seen the past year? Listen, as somebody, I just started going to concerts. I just started to. In fact, my first one I went to was 2016. And then after 2016, I didn't go to any until Music Fest 2018, right? So I'm not big into the concert scene. So I just started going. And I think I know at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 the past year.
Okay.
So that have made this list.
You're catching them in the twilight of their careers.
Seeing them come on stage, Mike.
Yeah. To me, and I'll pull back the curtain, man. The greatest rapper of all time to me, lyrically, is Rakim. He is the grandfather. He's the Frederick Douglass of the game. He's just the way he puts together stories versus metaphors versus absolutely rhyming. He's the guy. He's always been that guy. He's my number 1, man. So hey, I'm cool with that.
All right, coming in at number 6, we have Doggy Style, Snoop D-O-double-G. And it's crazy. I was talking with Evan Barnes on Twitter about this. Shout out to Evan Barnes up there in Brooklyn covering the Brooklyn Nets. And I need to call him and just
former Commercial Appeal.
Commercial Appeal, covered Tigers football and did some Grizzly stuff as well.
Yep.
About how Snoop Dogg and Pitbull and other rappers, but specifically Snoop Dogg and Pitbull, how they've gone from being legit menaces. Like if you were a kid and you had a Snoop Dogg album in the 90s and your parents found out, you were in trouble. You were in trouble. So all of a sudden now, 20-some years later, 30-some years later, you look up and they're just pop culture characters that everybody loves. This is a great album also.
No doubt about it.
Great. I could listen to Doggy Style. You could listen to Doggy Style right now and, get turned, as the children would say.
Man, I remember I used to have discussions with Nick Van Exel, former NBA player, Grizzlies assistant coach. He's still in the league now. Nick Van Exel, man, swears by this Doggy Style. Like,
Nick Van Exel is from out that way, correct?
No, he's from Milwaukee. He's from that area, but he spent his best years in the NBA with the Lakers. On those early teams.
I don't know why I thought he was LA kid.
He came out of Cincinnati. He was at University of Cincinnati when Doggy Style dropped. You know what I mean? And when that dropped, that was my college years. I was just getting to Grambling and Nothing But a G Thing, Ain't Nothing But a G Thing. Because of Grambling, we adopted Doggy Style. And just the album cover of that one was just so dramatic, man. But you ask, how can a guy like Snoop Dogg and to a certain extent some other rappers that have been out all of this time, now you look at them, 50 Cent, you look at them all now.
Throw Jay-Z in there.
Jay-Z as well. But more so, see, Jay-Z is still kind of off the grid a little bit sometimes, but it's because they lived.
Yeah.
They matured, right? Yeah. Like who you were rapping at 19 has to be different when you're a grandfather now, right? So now, you look at Snoop and Flavor Flav at the Olympics.
Flavor Flav is another one.
All three of them got records. All of them been to jail too. You know what I'm saying? And they lived long enough to live through it, but Doggy Style, man, yes, it deserves to be on that top 10 list.
Let these young people live. Give these young people guidance. Don't be so quick to come down. Drop the hammer on them. Coming in at number 5, we have All Eyes on Me, Tupac. Speaking of letting people live, I can't imagine. Is it 6? This is 5. Wait. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Coming at number 6. I'm sorry.
Kyra's never wrong.
Kyra is not wrong.
Yeah, she's never wrong.
I can't say philanthropies. I can't say that word. And also, I can't count. This is number 6, All Eyes on Me, Tupac. Speaking of letting people live, unfortunately, Pac was murdered on that Vegas Strip. And this album is, when people think about Tupac, I think they think about this album right here because it was great. Yeah,
it was great. It was his next to last one. It was his last living release.
Yeah.
And then they came back with Machiavelli after death. But my favorite one is All Eyes on Me just had everything. It had everything. And it's funny how it was a double album. And it's funny how when these dudes did double albums, especially Pac, this is the example, he went from teaming up with Dre on California Love in the same album dissing Dre, right? So it was like, okay, you just combine all of this in the one double album, man. And it was everything, man. It was everything. He had just gotten released from prison from jail, and he had all of that stuff written, and he was ready to go. I remember the studio stories where as soon as Tupac got out of jail, he went to the studio and just dropped 15 tracks without nothing written down, like just stuff that he already knew. And he just went in the studio and had marathon sessions, man, and he had to get it out. And that was All Eyes on Me.
I think that was where some of the frustration with Dre came in at, because Tupac was ready. And Dre's like, yo, Pac, we don't need to do all of this. We don't need to do all of this today. Like, we can go have a drink or two, can't we? Pac like, no. All right, as we look at the top 5 albums, top 5 hip-hop albums according to Billboard, coming in at Kyra, number 5. This is number 5. Coming in at number 5, Life After Death, the Notorious B.I.G., another one of those classic hip-hop albums.
It is. And you can argue Pac and Biggie and where they fall. It's going to be hard. And I saw the list. But when you look at this at number 5, it's going to be hard to find 4 more albums or releases that are greater than the last 2 that we just saw.
All right, number 4, we've got Aquemini, Outkast.
Man, talent-wise and content-wise and how they stretched themselves in that release right there, like they weren't just hip-hop. They used instruments and music, and they just did history. They combined all kind of genres. They had some jazz in there. They had some spoken word in there. And like Man, this was they got in trouble too because of the
Rosa Parks,
the Rosa Parks song, and they described how the dynamic of that stereotype changed when it came to them. But a great album. That's my favorite Outkast album for sure.
Was this the one that was this their first mainstream one? Was this their first one? Okay, all right. So this was after the
Cadillac. Yeah,
this
Cadillac,
was after the South got something to say.
That was so. This was their third then.
Okay,
this was third. This
all
was
right.
third.
Well, I mean, was this after the
Southern Player Cadillac music or whatever? That long word.
Yeah, was this? I should have known this. Yeah. I knew this was coming up. Mm-hmm. Was this after they had that moment at the Source where people were booing them for winning Best New Artist?
Oh yeah, that was way after that. Yeah, all right. Yeah. This was the comeback.
We had accepted Outkast at this point.
Yeah, this was them. This was them. All right, so they went from Southern.
Yeah.
The first two albums. This one took them into like major corporate success, and like you knew, okay, that's when Andre 3000 became more like Prince, and he was trying different things, and then Big Boy was expanding on his game and all of that kind of stuff. They became superstars with Aquemini.
Saw Big Boy this year also. Mm-hmm. Coming in at whatever number this is, Kyra, number 3. We've got the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which was
you saw her too.
I did see her.
Yeah.
So that's 4 this year. This was the best hip hop rap album on the Apple Music albums list of all time, but it's coming in at number 3 here, Mike. And we talked about this when it came out, when that list came out for Apple. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill?
When you look at the last 3 or 4 on this list, they all came out in the same sort of era, right? They were all from like 95, 6 to 98.
And that is, I think we could say a golden era of rap.
Yeah.
And it's hard to leave those off. But this list really does like stop at 98. Like nothing past 98 is getting on this list.
And it's hard, man, because like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, when you just break down what that album meant, what it took for her to get that album out, everything that the refugees were going through and everything she was going through personally in her life. And, she never really lived up to the talent that she had. But this right here in her out, her breakout, This Is Who I Am, like that album across any genre, and Apple proved it. That's one of the top albums ever. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill it's just as relevant in speaking to our young people today as it was 25, 30 years ago when it first came out, man, 20, whatever it is. And it's just, like, I read The Miseducation of the Negro, the book.
Yeah.
Like the book and how she used the metaphor of the book to craft her album and what she was saying in those stories. It's a love story. It's a reality story. It's fighting against stereotypes. It's embracing stereotypes. Like, it's everything that defines the culture, the African-American culture, then, now, and probably into the future.
Absolutely. And
if you made that argument that was if those were 1, 2, and 3, what we see up here, if that was 1, 2, and 3, I wouldn't have any argument at all with it.
But it's not number 2.
Yeah.
We have The Chronic, Dr. Dre, another one of those albums from around that time, and you think about Dre and his influence on Snoop and him and Tupac teaming up. You could say Dre's got like 3 albums on here, which is incredible to think about one artist with that type of influence.
Yes, Quincy Jones of hip hop, man, is Dr. Dre, and the Chronic set the tone for the West being back, right? Like the West had NWA initially, and then like Dre. At that point, like when you listen to it, and I recently listened to it when I was doing a workout, and I had that on, and every single song took me back to the moment when I first heard it. He could never top it. That's why when everyone was waiting on the follow up to the Chronic, he still hasn't put it out like in full. So that right there introduced Snoop. You had some all of Death Row on there. You also had what's my man name? The DOC. You know what I mean? Eminem came from out of that, and then from Eminem came 50 Cent. So it was like the evolution of what Dre touched and what he has, like he touched everything, man. And that album spoke for itself right there.
And coming in at number 1 on the top 10 greatest rap albums according to Billboard. This is according to Billboard. Coming in at number 1, Illmatic, Nas.
If I had to go Rakim gets my vote all time, right? Just because like Rakim was my introduction to like straight just standing on your sitting on your porch and just rapping, right?
Yeah.
But he has a lot, like Nas has a lot of that Rakim in him too. Because Nas is sort of like J. Cole. Like you can put him in any era and he'll find a way to be effective and speak to what he needs to speak to. He still is putting out music to this day.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been my number one. But
what would have been your number one?
My number one probably would have been, see, I'm partial to Lauryn Hill because of what that album meant, right? And what it meant. I wouldn't have put Nas up there. Nas would have been in my top 6. He wouldn't have been number one. I wouldn't have put him ahead of any of those 4 that we see on the screen right there.
Okay.
But he deserves a shot to be in there though.
Yeah.
Greatest diss track ever was the one when he ripped off on Jay-Z. Like, that was great. That was the greatest diss track ever.
Ether.
When he ethered Jay-Z. And you don't see guys taking on until we had this Kendrick and Drake thing. But that was, even then, like, those two guys, even Drake and Kendrick, they're more commercialized success now. But this is when it was just about getting in the studio and saying, dude, you ain't who you saying you are. And I knew you win.
Yeah.
And
you used to sleep on my couch.
Man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I love the list. I would have had Ice Cube in there. I would have had Ice Cube in there.
America's Most Wanted?
No. I would have had Death Certificate.
Okay.
In there for Ice Cube because his double album Death Certificate changed the whole game. Like, to me, it was like it was his confessional to what went wrong with NWA. It was, I'm gonna jump out here and do my thing on my own. It was after Kill at Will, and he found his own. And then he combined with a whole lot of guys. He brought the East and the West together on that. And it was the life side, it was the death side, but Ice Cube would have been up there in that top 10 for me. But I love that list, man, because you're right, it's bias.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody, coming from a new generation might be like, man, I don't know how that list could be top 10 of all time when you don't have a Kendrick Lamar, or you don't have a Drake, or you don't have somebody new age, or J. Cole or whatever. But to me, I don't have any problems at all with that list. I love it.
It's hard to.
Eminem probably deserve to be considered in there too.
It's hard. I have Marshall Mathers LP.
Yeah.
You say, CJ, what do you think? I would say, what do you think about the list? Hey, it's 2-1 era-ish for me.
I got you.
All right, CJ, great. Take an album out. No. 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 Right? Like, because those are great albums, but I think you go Marshall Mathers, LP, Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could go, I would throw Get Rich or Die Trying in there.
Mm-hmm.
College Dropout was great.
Yeah.
And that's to me, the best Kanye album is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could throw in Born Sinner. I think that's the best J. Cole album. Now, there we were talking during the break, and you could say Forest Hill Drive or some of the other ones that he's done have been great. But I listened to Born Sinner maybe a month ago, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Just track after track after track, just nonstop. Great songs.
To Pimp a Butterfly.
To Pimp a Butterfly.
Because that was critically acclaimed, right? And it told a story to to me, Public Enemy, the Fight the Power album.
Yeah.
Could be in there easily. You know what I mean?
I would also the Carter 3. Is that the Carter 3 with Lil Wayne with the baby picture with the face tats?
Yeah,
whichever one that was, one is this is great right here. So I think you could have gone with some of those. I would be willing to take out. Who would I take out of the top 10? Because I would take somebody out to put the Carter 3 in. I think the Carter 3
main one.
That's the one. That's the one for me.
That's the one
I'll square up and say, all right, if we got to fight about it, we can fight about it. The Carter 3 has to be in here somewhere. Now,
who you taking out though? That's the thing, man. Like, who's the weakest link in that 10?
Mike, I don't want no smoke, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to find the weakest link in that 10.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why. You know what I'm saying? So it's no problem being 12th. You know what I'm saying? It's not, like I said, the top 20, it's no problem being 12th in that situation.
But those are some great ones.
Yeah.
Get a chance to go back and re-listen to some of these. Some of you guys probably have them on tape, cassette, or CD, or record, or you downloaded them. Go back and give some of these albums a listen because they are really, really good. They are great and they are special. And they do a good job of telling stories. All of them great storytelling albums. Scarface was another one that I thought about. The way he was able to craft great stories.
You're still talking about that same era.
Yeah.
Right? That same era from basically from 93 to probably 2000.
Yeah.
You know, even if you extend it to another, that 7-year era right there. Because even when you talk about, Cash Money and you know, the Louisiana influence on rap.
Right.
99 to the 2000. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z, not Jay-Z, but my man
Baby, Manny Fresh, Juvie,
Juvenile,
Turk, BG, and Lil Wayne.
Yeah. So that was an incredible time, and it's gonna be hard. Commercialize, those guys now are making way more money than these guys back then. But in terms of artistry and what it meant, that's the era for me.
I think I'm with you on that, Mike, as well. Hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Come back next week. Like I said, we back weekly, man. We'll have more news, more stuff to talk to you about from the world of HBCU football and the culture, as the kids say, in general. For Mike, I'm CJ.
Uno.
Uno out, baby.